Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I had to think for a second what day we're on here. I'm Amber. I am a functional medicine physician assistant, and I am coming in here to get started right away because I want to talk to you guys about eating to your DNA and eating to your genetics. And so I did do a kind of intro about this last week. So if you want to see that training last week that I did, where I kind of introduced this, let me know and I can tag you in that video. I wanted to come on and do a part 2 of this because the last time I wasn't able to share my screen, and I think it's so powerful for me to be able to share my screen with you, share the actual DNA reports and the actual genetics testing, because then you can kind of see it in action. And it's just, this topic is huge. I could talk about it for hours. So it's just a lot of information to pack in. So it actually worked out with last week kind of introducing it and talking about it a little bit. And then this week, I actually have some reports that I can share with you to show you this in action. So if you're checking this out for the first time, just to give you a little bit of background, like I said, I'm a functional medicine practitioner. I'm also an eating psychology coach. I help women that are really trying to figure out healthy hacks or healthy habits and hacks that fit into their busy lifestyle. Women that have been chronically dieting, have tried everything out there. Maybe they get results for a little bit of time, and then, as we know, the old habits come in, and it's kind of that yo-yo type of thing. So I really work with them to break free from that lifestyle of wins and then disappointments, wins and disappointments, to really get where they want to be in terms of food and body confidence, and really food freedom, so that food does not dominate our lives, and it really doesn't have to. And so the approach that I do that, how I achieve this for people, is by getting down to the root cause of what's kind of driving these habits and behaviors that are unwanted, and the root cause in both mind and body. And so one of the really powerful ways that we can, really powerful tools we can use to end this diet cycle, this perpetual cycle of just constant dieting and really constant trying everything out there. And what I call is the hope and pray model. Trying something and hoping it will work, praying it will work for you this time. You heard that somebody down the road, your neighbor Jennifer, she tried the ketogenic diet. I'm going to try keto too. She lost 30 pounds. That's great. I'm going to try it too. You hope for the same results, and maybe you get some results, but then you just gain it back, right? Or maybe it doesn't work for you at all, and then you get frustrated, and what do? We throw in the towel and we go into might as well mode. Well, I might as well just eat whatever I want because this doesn't work anyway. And that can be, I've been there, and that's where my passion comes from. I've been in that similar spot. And until I learned that we can actually have a very direct, personalized approach to this, and as a healthcare professional and practitioner, this is what I do. It's personalized healthcare instead of that cookie cutter approach where we follow a protocol and you just go down the line. Well, we know that everybody's body is different. So why are we treating everybody's body the same? Jennifer may have had great results in the keto diet, but how are we going to know that that's going to work for me? So one of the very powerful methods that I use is genetic testing, not only for our generalized health panels to see what's going on in the body, what's going on, actually not what's going on in the body, what our body may be predisposed to, right? Because it's genetics testing. So knowing that information so that we can kind of set our bodies up for success, if you will. But I also do DNA testing of nutrition. And a lot of people that just don't know that this is a possibility. They just don't know that this is an alternative. We can actually look at your DNA and see what type of, I call it an eating style, a nutrition foundation. I don't like the word diet just because it has that kind of negative connotation. What type of nutritional foundation is best for your body based on your DNA? so that we don't have to keep trying everything that we heard, where there's so much information out there and we hear somebody else had success, so we try it too. But that's not based on anything. That's based on somebody else. We need to base our plan on our body. So when we get that information, we know what we can do about it, right? And it's not going to change because your DNA doesn't change. And this is really the key. There's no other sustainable lifestyle plan out there because, again, it's your genetics, right? This is like within you. So we can formulate your plan based on that. And that's where it honestly becomes fun for the women that I work with, because they have a lifestyle plan that they can manage, they can sustain, they know that they're doing what's right for their body type. And it just makes sense. Like, it eliminates trying everything else for a lifetime. So I just wanted to introduce that. And sorry if I'm talking fast, I want to make sure I fit everything in. But what I want to do is I want to share my screen and actually show you what some of these genetic reports look like, so you can see the power of the information that you receive. So let me just pull this one up. This is actually my genetics reports, and I don't mind showing you this one because it's my own. And so this is actually a DNA health panel of overall health. So, you know what? It would be helpful if I shared my screen. Can you guys imagine if I did that whole thing without sharing? Oh boy. Oh, I love it. Okay, I think now we're in business. Thank God I thought of that. I'm going too fast here. Okay, so share screen, we are shared, just so you guys can see this. So like I said, this DNA genetics test is overall health panels, or what we call the major biological areas of the body. And what is important to note, and you guys probably realize this, but I'd just like to start this off as kind of a baseline so that people are aware. Your genetics does not mean that you are going to get something, or it does not mean that you currently have this, right? Genetics is kind of like what we're predisposed to or what we may be at risk of. And so as a functional medicine practitioner, when we look at these different biological areas, these are biological areas that may be affected by our lifestyle, or what we call environment, or those are our lifestyle choices. So we essentially can control through our lifestyle the genes that we turn on and off. So of course, there are biological areas of the body that we can't control, right? You might be born with something that you can't switch that on and off, you just have it. But when, as a functional medicine practitioner, when we do this generalized health panel, we're looking at areas where we can kind of take control of our health a little bit to right, the best of our ability. But these are things that we can kind of affect through our lifestyle choices, through our environment, and we can essentially turn these genes on and off through those choices. So those are the biological areas that I look at. And we get this overall panel that shows, like, in the body, am I more predisposed to having problems with detoxification? Yes. Inflammation? Yes. Oxidative stress? Yes. It's like my body is not set up for success, okay? But knowing this information, I just know that these are my, what we call priority areas where I really focus on making sure I'm supporting my body through detox, through anti-inflammatory, especially nutrition choices, right? And lifestyle choices, and then helping to knock out that oxidative stress through antioxidants and things like that. So it gives us just generalized panel. A lot of women like to see the bone health too. We look at kind of vitamin D here. We look at collagen here. A lot of women kind of like to see what they're set up down the line for. Am I at risk for issues with bone health, osteoporosis, osteopenia, things like that down the line. And even cardiometabolic concerns like insulin sensitivity, and then even lipid metabolism. So gives us an idea. And what I love about our genetics reports is then, as I'm going through this with a patient or a client, we can really break down, like, where are the high priority areas, and then what do I do about it? So again, I like to refer to it as setting my body up for success. And this gets a little bit into where we start to learn not only what eating style or nutritional foundation is best for us, but even what specific foods, like what specific foods can I eat that are best for my DNA? And I'm a nerd about this stuff. I think it's like so cool, right? And so right here will give us some results, like incorporate more of these types of foods, and that will support your DNA the best. Can you guys see how powerful this is to break free from trying all the diets out there and seeing what works for you and what doesn't, by just actually knowing, even down to specific foods that are best for your body? And then just on this report, what I wanted to show you is, let's see. And again, when I go through these results with my clients, I go through this in very specific detail, but literally we're looking at each of the genes here in each of the biological areas and which ones may have a mutation, right? That sets us up for a little bit of a higher risk or just a predisposition, what I like to call just a focus area, an area that we focus on, a higher priority area. And then what I really love, which I think is really fun for people and very, very empowering on your health journey. How many of you want to feel like empowered on your health journey and not like you're spinning your tails and constantly on and off the bandwagon? Well, this is a way that we can end it being on, kind of constantly on and off that bandwagon, is right here. So this breakdown gives you an idea, and the specific ones that I'll talk about here is really, a lot of people are like, well, maybe I'll cut out dairy, maybe I'll cut out gluten, all of these things, like maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll try that. And while that is important, I always say to my community and the women that I work with, it is important for us to be open to having our body be a little bit of an experiment, right? Because while we do get the information, our bodies are always in a season of change. So maybe something that worked for us like 20 years ago doesn't really agree with us anymore. And so when we are open to being kind of experiments of our body, we open up to listening to our body more, right? And that really brings us into like in tune with what we need and what feels good for us, right? And what maybe doesn't agree with us so much. But when we have this information, we can get kind of a targeted approach instead of always constantly guessing. The constantly guessing thing is what gets really just exhausting. And then we go into what I call throw in the towel mode. And so the ones I like to highlight here are especially lactose intolerance and gluten intolerance. And so for me here, I have a double deletion on my gene, gluten gene, that encodes for the enzymes that helps break down gluten. So what this means for me, the three little dots that are on the right, the three blue dots, is that I have a severe intolerance to gluten. And I didn't know this before I got into functional medicine myself. And of course, like I personally did everything for myself first before I became a practitioner in it and started helping other people. So this was like life-changing for me, because finding out that I actually am very sensitive to gluten and then kind of reducing that drastically in my diet, I would say I'm probably 97, 98% gluten-free. I don't kill myself if I'm out and I want something that has gluten in it. I have it. And I know specifically how my body reacts when I have gluten. So it's just like knowing that information. I know that gluten makes me feel very, very fatigued. Also usually leaves some, ends up with, I have some breakouts in my skin. And I think I talked about that last week. But then having this information, it's very empowering for us because, again, it's becoming more in tune to our body. It's listening to our body, and it's also knowing how our body's responding. So if I have gluten and I feel exhausted the next day, instead of me like beating myself up, like, oh my God, I shouldn't have had that amazing pasta dish at the restaurant last night. That was so amazing. But now I'm on this guilt trip with food and I have food guilt, shame. I'm like down on myself, that negative self-talk on myself because of something I ate. Instead, I'm saying, no, I had gluten yesterday and I have a severe gluten intolerance. So that's why I'm feeling, really like lethargic today and just very, very tired. And then tomorrow I might have a breakout. Well, I know what it's coming from. So then it just strengthens my relationship with food and body, because then I'm not beating myself up like, oh my God, I shouldn't have had that pasta. It's so bad for me, and all of those things, right? Like that's that negative relationship with food. So information is empowering on our health journey. I hope that kind of resonates with some of you. And then the other one I wanted to bring up to you guys, which I kind of alluded to in the beginning, is knowing our overall nutritional foundation or structure, or what I call eating style. If you want to call it a diet without having the negative connotation attached to it, that's fine. But this is the DNA of our diet. So, here's the way to eliminate trying all of the diets out there. Let's just get the DNA test and see what we should be doing. I love it. It's just so empowering. Let me find where it just says. So we get your genetics of nutrition. And then right here, it will basically tell us. So for this particular client of mine, based on her genetics, her genes, a Mediterranean type of diet plan, nutrition structure is best for her body. And it also says to help her manage her weight. So how many of you are trying weight loss trying to lose weight and trying all of the things to find that like magic bullet, like that cure that you can lose the weight and get out of weight loss resistance, all of these things? Well, this test will tell you the specific plan that's best for managing your weight. And the thing that I love about this is not, the results never give you like, oh, the best kind of diet for you is eating like 2 grams of carbs per day and blah, blah, blah. It's very broad. And so coming from myself, I'm an eating psychology coach. Like I said, we work on strengthening that relationship with food and body. And that does not mean restriction. So this is, again, a focal point. We focus on the Mediterranean diet and bring those things in. We don't focus on like, oh, that means I can't have X, Y, Z. No, this just gives us kind of what to prioritize in our diet, if you will. And again, it will give us a result that isn't super restrictive at all. It's a very broad kind of foundation for nutrition. And then the other area that I'll just highlight kind of to bring things home that I really like, and my clients really love this too. They're kind of blown away that we can actually test your genetics to see if you're like, have a propensity for a sweet tooth, right? So I did a training in my group yesterday about sweet tooth and sugar cravings, and like almost everybody is like, oh, that's me. And so I'm like, well, did you guys know that we can actually test your genetics and see if it actually is you? And if it's not, if you don't have this like high propensity for a sweet tooth, then there's something else going on in the body that's driving those sugar cravings. And I do those tests as well, because there can be imbalances in the gut, in our metabolism, and especially in our hormones that can drive that sweet tooth. And this is a topic for a whole nother day. Maybe I'll do this next week. But what I told my group is that there's no amount of willpower that you can do. If you have a species, a bacterial species or yeast growing in your gut that's screaming, feed me, feed me, feed me sugar, all the willpower in the world isn't going to be able to overcome that. So we need to figure out what's driving that in the body. That's why we call functional medicine root cause healthcare or root cause medicine, because we're getting down to the actual reason, like what's driving that in the first place, so that we can take care of it and that you no longer have that behavior, that habit, whatever, that's like, I can't get under control. Well, we got to find out why. And a lot of times I share these reports with my clients, and it's like the sweet tooth, like me, it came up as a low, like I'm low on the end for a sweet tooth. And I'm like, actually, this is not my report. No, that I was going to say, I definitely have a sweet tooth, but a lot of people will be like, it must be wrong, Amber, you got the wrong report. Like I have a sweet tooth, I know it. And it's like, well, it's your DNA. I don't know what to tell you. We got to figure out what's driving the sweet tooth. But we'll just show you some areas that, you can focus on. And it's pretty revealing too, to kind of know. And then what can we do about it? So for this particular patient, a priority area, if you will, was snacking and satiety. What this means for me when I see this as a practitioner is that this individual person, and this is huge, like listen up for a second, right? Stay with me. This is huge. So just talking about eating to our body and to our body type and our needs, our genetics. So if a priority area is snacking and satiety, this means that this individual person maybe isn't as sensitive to hunger and fullness cues. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like they always talk about listen to your hunger and fullness cues, when to stop eating, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I just don't get those messages. Some people, they're not as sensitive to these cues in their body. And so for this individual, they don't always feel that feeling of satisfaction after meals, that like satiety that we talk about, that hormone that helps to regulate our fullness, right? Or our appetite hormones. They're not as sensitive to like feeling that in their body. So what can we do? For this person, it's helpful for their plan, their lifestyle and longevity plan, to eat more kind of solid square meals through the day, during the day, 3 bigger, more solid meals through the day, as opposed to kind of constantly eating like those little meals throughout the day. You've heard a lot of these things like, should I eat 3 meals a day? Should I eat a big breakfast, a small dinner? Should I not eat after 7 p.m.? Should I eat like 5 small meals throughout the day? You hear all of this stuff. This eliminates that. This person, we really need to focus on those 3 square solid meals through the day, and that will help them based on their genetics. The other one here that you see is circadian rhythms. And what this means is that for this individual at night, their metabolism really, really slows down and gets sluggish. For all of us, this happens, but this is really enhanced for this person. So for them, it may be indicated that we try not eating 2 hours before bed, because if they do eat really close to bed, it may lead to symptoms, GI symptoms, especially fatigue the next day, not feeling as well. So based on them, because we know how their metabolism operates, right? We can tailor that plan and say, hey, let's see how you feel if we stop eating about 2 hours before you go to bed at night. And this is based on your genetics. Some people don't have this. I don't have this in my genetics, so I eat like right before bed and I'm fine, right? But knowing this information is so powerful so that you can stop just trying all of the things and seeing if it works for you. We get very detailed information so that we can tailor it to you. And that's when it really becomes fun for my clients. They feel so empowered. They feel that freedom that they've really just never had before. So I wanted to share this with you guys. I hope that that's helpful. Let me come back to y'all. And it was just kind of a continuation of last week where I was just introducing this, but I think it's so much more powerful if I can share with you those reports so you can kind of see it in action. But yeah, please, I'm an open book about this stuff. I love sharing. As you can see, I'm like talking a million miles an hour because this is my true passion, helping women with this. And I'm a nerd by trait, so I love just diving into these studies and seeing what's going on. So if this kind of hits home to you and you're like, it's piquing your interest, it's getting all those hamster wheels turning, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat more. But guys, have a lovely week and we will chat soon. Bye.